Hello, everyone. Hello. Sorry, my notes are all out of order. Give me 1 second. Okay. Firstly, I want to thank the Hollywood Climate Summit for doing this and for having this incredibly vital conversation. This is something that I'm so excited about, obviously being of Indian heritage and working in Hollywood, and to have these incredible panelists to get to talk to. So I'll start by giving you a little context. India's media and entertainment industry is valued at approximately $32.2 billion and projected to reach $47.2 billion by 2029, making it one of the world's fastest growing creative economies. Over 1,800 films are released annually across 20 plus languages, creating one of the world's largest and most diverse storytelling ecosystems. India is also on the front lines of the climate crisis and the extremes we are likely to eventually see globally. That's why we wanted to highlight this conversation at the intersection of entertainment, climate, and global South storytelling. So I'd love to have you guys both start by introducing yourselves.
Should I go first? So hi everyone, I'm Tamseel. I'm the founder and CEO of PLUC TV, which is a storytelling platform that works with over 350,000 creatives across different parts of India. So we would have a woman solar technician who would be a creative, to a really amazing filmmaker and a writer who would be a creative. And a couple of months ago with Netflix India, we launched India's first Climate Scriptwriting Lab, the video you saw before that. So I'm really excited to share all the learnings from that.
Thank you.
Can you hear me? Good. I had a moment of realization about Hollywood a week ago. I want to just share that with you and then move on. 2 weeks ago, I was in Sweden, guest of the royalty there. I received from the Nobel Committee a prize equivalent to the Nobel for climate change science. I also received a huge prize, etc. But then when I came back, this invitation to this panel was waiting for me. So I wrote to all my friends. I'm surprised to tell you there was a lot more excitement about the fact that I was invited to the summit than getting the equivalent of the Nobel Prize. So Hollywood, your reputation is intact. I'm really, truly delighted to join you in this panel. It'll become obvious to you why. It's just the perfect timing for what's happening to the planet. So instead of introducing myself, I would like to introduce our planet to you all. We are living on what I would call the Goldilocks planet. Remember Goldilocks? She loves her porridge at the exact right temperature. So we inherited a planet which was perfect temperature for us, perfect climate. This is changing rapidly, okay? Our planet is getting warmer. People worldwide are feeling it now. My colleague here is coming from one of the most intense heat waves India is experiencing, and the disastrous LA fires of 2025. These two are just a small fragment of what's happening around the world and a small fragment of what's in store for us. Not 100 years from now, not 80 years from now, but 5 years from now and 15 years from now. I'll tell you what they are. I want to convey this feeling, particularly to a chairperson who is a celebrated actress. We clearly understand why the planet is getting warmer. We need you to communicate this to the public because there is science is in tremendous doubt in the public, at least in America, I don't know, but India. And what is it we understand? We have dumped 2.5 trillion tons. Imagine that. 2,500 billion tons, okay, of heat trapping pollutants in the last 150 years. They're still there. Half of them is up there. They cover the planet like a blanket. Just like a blanket keeps you warm on a winter cold night, not because the blanket is giving you heat, it's trapping your body heat. This blanket of 1.2 trillion tons of just junk in the air is what's heating the planet, trapping, otherwise the planet would have ventilated heats to space. Sorry. I was told to keep the mic close to me, but I was also told by other climate experts, Ram, be animated when you talk. What should I do?
Be animated as long as it's stuck right here.
So the main fact I want all of you to remember, particularly I hope Indian government is listening, our friend will communicate this, emissions anywhere are global warming everywhere.
Can you repeat that, please?
Emissions anywhere in the planet is global warming everywhere. The CO2 I emitted today, okay, in Los Angeles, from San Diego to Los Angeles, would warm Los Angeles as much as it would warm New Delhi or my hometown in Chennai, okay? So that's how we are all. So why am I saying this? We are all interconnected, and we have to stay together to solve this problem. When I say we, India, Americans, Chinese, Russians, we all have to be together. It cannot be solved by finger pointing. It cannot be solved by naming and shaming. How do I know that? I started working in this field 56 years ago, 1970. I've been trying to do that finger pointing, naming and shaming. Didn't work, okay? My latest prediction is that it's going to get a lot warmer in about just 15 years to 20 years. I predicted this 1.5 degree warming we are experiencing now 9 years ago. At that time, United Nations and all the Western scientists were saying it's not going to happen till 1945. It already happened, okay? So things are going much faster. And when that happens, we reach the threshold or tipping point in about 14 to 15 years from now. It's called 2 degree warming. Life will become intolerable. Not for all of us, for the poorest 3 billion people who had very little to do with the pollution. 900 million of this 3 billion live in India, mainly rural areas. I've done my work in rural areas along with my daughter who is there to give them cleaner energy. And they have no chance. Their only chance is their village would be, escape. So, but the rest of us will also be affected. I think there are 3 planets. The wealthy 1 billion, I think all of us are on that planet. And then the middle 4 billion, mainly all the young. And then this poorest 3 billion. But it'll affect us too. So it's what I call the COVID moment for the planet, when climate change will enter all of our living rooms. Rich and not so rich, but the poor don't have living rooms, so it'll enter their hearts. It's already there in their hearts. It'll come to our living rooms. We also, fortunately, that's the dire news. We also have many solutions to restore the climate to the state where Goldilocks can enjoy her porridge again. Okay? So we're not solving this problem not because we don't know how to solve. There are hundreds of solutions. Wow. We are just not doing it. Okay? But don't get me wrong. India, America, and many nations are implementing solutions, but they are too slow, too localized. I can take you to one city in America where 1/3 of the cars are electric. That's not what I mean. It has to happen everywhere. in Nigeria, in Brazil, everywhere, okay? We need a new approach to deal with the issue. If the chairwoman is gracious enough to give me some time, I'll tell you what the new approach is. I call this the climate resilience approach, and I'm collaborating with the Vatican and its science academies to start a global movement. I started working with Pope Benedict, then Pope Francis, and now Pope Leo. These are just examples. Faith, entertainment industry, particularly, and all of us have a lot to do. In fact, in my view, the entertainment industry can play a major role in this new approach. I'm in the process of creating 1 million climate champions among the youth. You can help a lot. This problem needs you. Why else would an 81-year-old brave the 405 highway from San Diego to LA to come here?
Thank you so much. Very, very powerful words. And yes, we are, I fully agree, we are so interconnected. And I think we all need to remember, if you remember anything from what he said, all of the brilliant things he said, emissions anywhere is global warming everywhere. Did I say that correctly? Okay. Tamseel, India has one of the world's largest and most influential entertainment ecosystems, which we understand, yet global conversations about film are still often very Hollywood-centric. So what do you think people misunderstand about the scale and the cultural impact of Indian cinema? And when I say Indian cinema, I'm not talking only about Bollywood, which is what most people think of. There are, I said in the intro, 20 plus languages. There are many industries, unlike in this country where there's one industry. So if you can speak more to that.
I think that's pretty much the beginning of misunderstanding, right? Like a lot of people know India as Bollywood, and Bollywood constitutes is just the Hindi language cinema, right? And we have Telugu, we have Tamil, we have Kannada, we have Marathi, we have Bengali. It keeps going in, and each and every state, we have like 28 states and a few states combined. Each and every language in cinema has its own ecosystem. It has its own financiers, it has its own ecosystem, it has its own theaters, it has its own actors. And a lot of people and a lot of stories thrive within that ecosystem. So a few stories that we see, like for example, RRR, Bahubali, all of these films break through and reach a global audience. It becomes really interesting to know that those films were not from Bollywood. So I think the first thing to notice is that the cinema is way more diverse. For example, when we launched the Climate Scriptwriting Lab, we've got like a total applications of 5,500 applications till now. And they're in about 18 different languages, right? Which are being evaluated by 30 to 40 different people who are evaluating it in different languages, keeping each and every language and cultural phenomena in mind, how it impacts the region. So I think that's the number one thing. The second is a lot of films that are commercially viable are the only ones that are seen, right, in theaters, in streaming platforms. And now that we have platforms like Netflix, they're taking a lot more of these regional films out there to the world, which is a great opportunity. So I think the first thing to realize is that India is massive, it's diverse, it has 1.6 billion people. And
Plus the diaspora.
Plus the diaspora. And I think that's the most important part. Like I was in Melbourne and I realized that Indian films there are literally number 2 when it comes to grossing in theaters. And there's a huge demand, right, as compared to the Australian cinema. And as the diaspora is growing outside, the demand for Indian films is increasing. So in my view, like it's not just, if you compare it to Hollywood, we make way more films, right? And if we compare it from a level, like India has its own pillar that hasn't been understood yet. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Dr. Ramanathan, you've spent decades communicating the urgency of the climate crisis, not just through science and policy, but through cultural and moral leaders like the Pope, which he mentioned. Climate science isn't uncertain, but there's often a misconnection with communicating the data effectively outside their own circles. So from your perspective, how does the messenger shape the message and the audience?
I think this is, sorry. No animation, keep the mic close. Chairwoman, I agree 100% with the premise of this question. We lack public support. Okay? We try top-down approaches, but our leaders are busy with so many things. So the bottom-up approach is what I'm hoping will deliver what we need to do. So we scientists, we need to get out of the echo chamber. You'll be shocked how many people I've interacted, about 500 in my 60 years, but I'm in that echo chamber. I need to get out of that. So I would like our community to get into a dialogue with you all about the climate champions. Another major avenue we have to pursue, either by the entertainment industry or this transdisciplinary group, we have to bring fossil fuel industry into the discussion. We have treated them as enemies. I always say fossil fuel industry has benefits. I would still be in my village in India suffering heat waves, but for fossil fuels. So it has benefited us, but it's just become out of date. So we need to get a dialogue with them. I just want to say there are two things. If I now talk to public, I'll tell you what I focus on: health. We got to make it personal.
Yeah.
I tried talking about polar bears. Nobody listened. They are lovely creatures, but we don't. What moves us is our health, and more important than our physical health, mental health. I expect to see so much mental trauma, largely because of my daughter-in-law who works in this area. She's studied what the California fires, how they create PTSD amongst residents. So it's going to be a huge issue in places like India. And anyway, I'm speaking for the 900 million Indians who have nothing to do with this pollution in rural areas. They need power, uninterrupted power, so that they can survive heat waves like what you're experiencing. Thank you.
As someone who works in Hollywood, who is deeply connected to my Indian heritage, something that I've experienced and have navigated is that stories about where I come from are always, not almost, always filtered through a Western lens. So Tamseel, why is it important to have Indian creators authoring these climate narratives for global audiences?
I think what's interesting is a lot of YouTube creators come to India to get the Indian audiences because it helps them get a lot of subscribers very quickly and at scale, and they can monetize faster. But what we don't realize about, like, coming back to India, and this is where I look at where we are as a country and the power we hold. And our power is definitely people, right? And when we compare India to any population hubs across the world, we realize that we are literally on the front lines of climate change. What Sir was saying, I'm coming from 46 degrees of heat. And in fact, I traveled to three different
Celsius.
states in India before coming here. One of the states was 47, one was 46. And I know what happened to me. I was really sick before coming here, and I'm still recovering. And when we imagine how rural India deals with it, it's very interesting, right? Right from people trying to fix, like solar technicians. I keep mentioning it because that's the community that I was working on. And it's women putting solar panels in rural India to electrify rural India, as I was saying. I look at this as a beautiful, beautiful moment where India is, because we are literally facing heat waves, floods, all of the climate crisis, we're also a community that is very excited about, as people, excited about solving the crisis, right? People talk about this word in India called jugaad, and it's done in various ways. Every Indian would know the word jugaad, and it's like this quick fix for a long-term solution. That's what it's known as. You could also, I mean, one of my favorite shows is right now called Hacks. So Hacks and jugaad is connected to that and how you make it to, in that sense. And I think we have those solutions that the world hasn't seen. The way to approach India and tell stories about India, I think the way Indian creators are doing it in their own languages, we are rooted in family values and spiritual values in a very strong way, and we love entertainment and sports, right? And keeping these four things in play is really important, that Indian creators have the authority over India's narrative so that the truth prevails, and like you're able to see all the kind of narratives that are coming in from India at scale. And most of these creators have lots of subscribers, but a lot of narratives that are missing globally are in India's climate solutions, which we really don't know about, which are in grassroots India. And if you really dig deep into creators and creatives, be it writers or be it like Instagram or YouTube creators or different kinds of creatives, you would notice that these stories rely on them. And most Indian stories, because of language and because of the scale of the country, end up being within the country. And those solutions never reach out. So, which is where Indian creatives, the amount of investment that the government is making in the creative economy is amazing. The opportunities being created. We have creator hubs in every college being made right now, where people can learn how to be creatives and creators to be able to create and use their creativity in various ways and earn livelihoods in some of the most rural areas in India. That was unimaginable, right? NFDC, which is the National Film Development of India, is creating some of the most amazing opportunities for filmmakers to be able to get access to funding and development funds and co-production funds where people get opportunities. So it's like, it's the golden time for India's creative economy. And I'm very honored that climate is becoming a part of it at scale. And we have that opportunity to really take the conversation forward. The difference between America and India is that there's an advocacy led things in various ways, but India's power lies in creative economy and scale. And that's what the beauty of climate and creative economy connected is.
Okay, well, we're just out of time, but just to wrap up, both of you, what climate stories or key information do you think we need to be communicating today? I know you spoke a little bit about this, and how can that help us build more climate warriors?
Yeah. I want to bring up one topic which has not come up so far, adaptation. Okay? 95% of the brain power and 95% of the finances spent is on mitigating emissions. Okay? So if you follow my thing about emissions anywhere is global warming everywhere, let's say India spends all its money on cutting down emissions and the rest of the world doesn't. The warming will be just as much. So what would have happened to India is it put all its money in mitigation, people would be suffering. So I am advancing, please, of course, cut emissions down. At least spend half of your efforts like these and your finances on protecting people. So adaptation has to be elevated. Otherwise, you will see in 5 years, things will go astray. And just to give an example to Californians, I've been advising our Governor, Jerry Brown. I told him 8 years ago, you don't do something about adaptation, Californians won't be able to insure our homes. Wow. So when my 1.5 degree comes in 2030 and 2041, I'm predicting 2042, 2 degrees, I would think most of California's homes would be uninsurable. So, but again, there is time. Don't take mine as going to a depression and have too many martinis for your dinner. Eat healthily, drink healthily. There is a future, but we got to grab it now.
Thank you. I think it's so important to, I think that's so powerful. We don't talk about adaptation enough, and it is important to remember there is time, but not too much time, so don't waste any time.
I have a rather optimistic approach, and it's very global south oriented. Over the past 6 months, I have spent time in India, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Nepal, different areas, and some of the most grassroots rural areas. And I think the missing narrative in the world is, at the moment, which needs to be prioritized, is equal access to energy and at scale.
That's true.
And I was so emotional, and I've seen emotional stories, but when I saw it in front of my eyes, I saw how energy creates equity, dignity, and equality in such a powerful way. And these stories are stuck. Like, the change and the transformational and the scale is only happening in the global south. We need to watch these stories, connect with these communities, and really, really implement the learnings we're getting from places like India in different parts of the world. And I think especially similar population hubs. And I really think it's completely missing from the narrative globally. we talk of EVs, we talk of solar, we talk of different things, but have you ever tried decentralizing? Have you ever tried implementing solar in villages at scale? It's unbelievably difficult. And it's unbelievably transformative, like the 900 million Indians who are getting access to. And I think if I think of it as an optimist, sir, I would say that would be India's win story.
That's wonderful. Thank you both so much. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. All right.